Hello friends, welcome to Crime Story YouTube channel. Today we will explain the disturbing story of the unsolved Hinterkaifeck murder in German history. Please watch the video till the end. On April 4, 1922, Lorenz Schlittenbauer noticed his neighbor's mail stacking up at their farm in rural Hinterkaifeck. Worried something was wrong at the farm, Schlittenbauer recruited fellow neighbors Jacob Siegel and Michael Pohl to help him investigate. Finding the home's front door locked, the men headed to the barn, where they discovered the bodies of Victoria Gabriel, 35, her daughter, Casilia, 7, and Victoria's parents, Andreas Gruber, 64, and Casilia Gruber, 72. Each family member was killed with multiple blows to the head. The bodies had been stacked on top of each other and covered by a board and some hay. Wanting to investigate the home, the men found a hallway connecting the barn to the main house. Inside, the men found the bodies of the family's 44-year-old maid, Maria Baumgartner, and Victoria's 2-year-old son, Joseph. Both Maria and Joseph had been bludgeoned to death in their beds. Although the murders at the Hinterkaifeck farm weren't discovered until April 4, police determined the family had all died on the evening of Friday, March 31. This had been Maria Baumgartner's first day working as the family's maid, and her sister later confirmed everyone was alive when she visited Maria at the farm that afternoon. The following day, 2 coffee salesmen came by the farm, but no one answered the door. However, smoke was coming from the chimney, and someone had seemingly fed the family's livestock. A repairman also arrived at the house on April 4 but found no one there. The mail piling up, the family missing church on Sunday, and Casilia not showing up for school all led to the search of the barn and the eventual discovery of the murders. The closest police department to Hinterkaifeck was in Munich, Germany, about 45 miles away. After discovering the bodies, Schlittenbauer and the other men alerted their families and fellow neighbors about the gruesome murder scene at the farm. By the time lead investigator Georg Reingruber arrived from Munich, dozens of people had walked through the crime scene, destroying evidence and, in the process, compromising the police investigation. Despite the tampered crime scene and virtually no forensic testing available at the time, police theorized the killer, or killers, had somehow lured the 4 family members out to the barn one by one to murder them before returning to the home to kill Maria and Joseph. On April 5, 1922, Dr. Johann Baptist Ommler conducted autopsies on the victims of the Hinterkaifeck murders. He subsequently determined they had all died by blunt force trauma to the head, and the weapon was likely a pickaxe or mattock. Dr. Ommler also noted there were strangulation marks on the older Casilia. As for the younger Casilia, she likely took hours to die trapped beneath her family's bodies. Investigators found Casilia holding fistfuls of her own hair, and her head had several bald patches. Dr. Ommler suspected the little girl probably died from a combination of her injuries and shock. In the months and weeks leading up to the killings, a number of strange events occurred at the Hinterkaifeck farm. 6 months prior, the family's previous maid reportedly quit after hearing footsteps in the attic, which made her believe the house was haunted. Neighbors also told police Andreas Gruber found footprints in the snow that began at the woods surrounding the farm and ended at the barn. However, he could find no footprints leading away from the barn. This revelation led to the theory that the killer hid in the barn and perhaps the attic, which some thought accounted for the footsteps the previous maid heard. Andreas also mentioned his keys had gone missing, and he found a newspaper he didn't subscribe to in the home. He declined to borrow a gun from one of his neighbors to protect himself and his family. 7 years before the residents of the Hinterkaifeck farm were murdered, Victoria and Andreas were accused of incest after someone submitted an anonymous report. Both the father and daughter were put on trial and eventually found guilty. Andreas served 1 year in prison, and Victoria served either 1 year or 1 month, according to differing reports. While many people believed Victoria's 2-year-old son, Joseph, was the child of Lorenz Schlittenbauer, the man who started the search of the farm on April 4, some of the Gruber's neighbors believed the child was the product of Andreas's incestuous relationship with his daughter. Over the course of the investigation, and re-investigations, into the Hinterkaifeck murders, authorities suspected over 100 people of potentially being the killer or killers. One theory that dominated the early investigation posited Lorenz Schlittenbauer may have killed the family. According to rumors, Lorenz and Victoria had a romantic relationship, and Joseph was allegedly Lorenz's son. Some even claimed Lorenz referred to Joseph as mein Bubel, meaning my boy. Rumors also spread, however, that Lorenz suspected Andreas was actually Joseph's father. Lorenz allegedly went so far as to put forward another complaint of incest but decided not to at Victoria's behest. In the end, there was no clear way to tie Schlittenbauer to the murders or prove he was Joseph's father, so authorities eliminated him as a suspect. Part of the tension at the Hinterkaifeck farm stemmed from its ownership. Victoria, not Andreas, owned the farm. She gained ownership after her husband, Carl Gabriel, died in World War I. Some also alleged Carl knew Casilia was actually Andreas's daughter, which was why he went to live with his parents for several months before going off to war. As far as Carl's death was concerned, his body was never found, leaving some to speculate he had returned to the farm and murdered the family in revenge. Claims also arose that Carl was sighted during World War II wearing a Soviet Union military uniform. Despite speculation, authorities have never confirmed any of these theories. After autopsies had been completed, the court physician removed the heads of all 6 victims, which he reportedly sent to Munich for further examination. Allegedly, the skulls of the Grubers and their maid were also given to clairvoyants, presumably in an effort to learn more about the perpetrator, or perpetrators, who committed the massacre. For some reason, the victims' skulls were kept in Munich. Thus, the Gruber family and their maid, Maria Baumgartner, were buried without their heads. According to the authorities, the skulls went missing following the upheaval caused by World War II and were never recovered. In 1999, an elderly woman contacted the authorities, claiming her former landlord admitted to having information about the Hinterkaifeck killings. Officials investigated this tip and learned the landlord supposedly made this claim in 1935. However, it was too late, as the potential suspect mentioned in the lead was no longer alive. In 2007, more than 80 years after the Gruber family and their maid were killed, students at Fürstenfeldbruck Police Academy used modern techniques to investigate the unsolved case. The students ruled out all but one suspect they believe committed the murders at the Hinterkaifeck farm. However, the suspected killer is dead, so they did not publicly name the person they believed was responsible for the massacre out of respect for the suspect's living relatives and the victim's memory.